what psychiatry taught me about being human. You know, one of the most common questions I get asked on social media is that, why did I take psychiatry after MBBS? Honestly, it's a story I have never told before, so I've decided to use this platform to talk about my love affair. I must have been about 12, 13 years old, and I was a very avid reader. I would go through a book in a week. And I stumbled upon this book, which gave me insights like nobody. It said, you know, if somebody's standing with their arms folded, that's guarded body language. Somebody's feet are towards you, they may be interested in you. I said, what is this? I've struck gold. And I started understanding human behavior. Fun fact, the book is called Body Language by Alan Pease, and I still have my copy. It's a little tattered, but I've kept it for memorabilia. Over the few years, at around 15, I think I read in the newspaper a word that I could not pronounce. I pronounced it as psychiatrist, because it starts with a P, and who told me that P is silent? So I went around asking, hey, what's a psychiatrist? I asked the older people in my family, I asked a few friends. Turns out nobody knew what a psychiatrist is or who a psychiatrist is. Some people knew what a psychologist is, but nobody knew the difference. Now, back in my day, there was no ChatGPT, certainly no Google as well. So I opened the good old dictionary, went to PSY. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor, someone who does MBBS, MD. And what do? Well, they diagnose, treat, and prevent mental, emotional, and behavioral disorders. Again, 3 words that back in my generation, nobody spoke about. But I was in love. I had committed myself. This is what I want to be. So I went to medical school and I kept looking for psychiatry. Psychiatry, where are you? Nowhere to be found. I think my medical friends will agree that sadly in medicine, in MBBS, we don't get enough exposure to psychiatry. Such a shame. I hope it changes. By the time I hit internship, I was lucky to visit a mental health setup. And it was like a world of Narnia for me. While I saw patients in suffering and in pain, I wanted to heal them. And that really healed a part of me as well. So I said I do to psychiatry and chose it in my MD. And here we are 15 years later. Now that my love affair is out of the bag, a lot of medical students come to me, especially because I'm a NEET PG mentor, that, ma'am, is it true that we need patience, empathy, and communication skills for taking psychiatry? I say, yeah, it is true, in a short answer. But honestly, psychiatry also teaches you all of this and even more. So just like my Instagram reels, I'm going to distill my 15 years of learnings of psychiatry, lessons I have learned in under 15 minutes. A little bit clickbaity, right? There are lessons I've learned personally, there are lessons I've learned professionally, and there's lessons I've learned about the world, which has really changed my point of view. So let's start with me, because we're all our favorites, right? Lesson number 1. I am not the center of the universe. The world does not revolve around me. The spotlight is not always on me. And guess what? Neither are you as special as what your parents have told you. When we go out in the real bad world, we realize that we think too much about ourselves. No, people are not always thinking about us. They're not always commenting about us. And you know, this lesson has taught me a lot of humility. It has taught me to distance myself and not take things too personally. It has certainly made my life a tad bit easier to not get offended very easily when I'm not given princess treatment in different places. Try it, maybe you'll benefit. The second, I want to know how many perfectionists in the house. Give me a cheer. Any perfectionists? Yeah. I think we all pride upon the fact that we are perfectionists. And we say, you know what? If I will do something, I will do it perfectly. Otherwise, I will not do it. surprise, surprise, perfectionism is overrated. In fact, there's something called anti-perfection, which I've been trying and even teaching my patients to try out. It's worth trying. Because guess what? Progress is better than perfection. Done is better than not done. And one of the leading causes of procrastination that medical students ask me, ma'am, I procrastinate so much, is perfectionism. I will only start at 11 sharp. No, you can start at 11 or 2. Newsflash. The third personal lesson is a little bit boring. And that is, boredom is your best friend. Yes, I'll say that again. Boredom is your best friend. Back in the day, I loved novelty, impulsivity, making sudden plans and everything new. But over the years, I've realized monotony, familiarity, doing the same thing over and over again, heck, even eating the same thing most of the days, is actually good for your nervous system. Boredom sparks curiosity. Next time, when you're waiting in line, don't take out your mobile phone. Be bored for just a minute or more, your choice. Thank me later. But boredom is certainly a gift to us. Now, there are lessons that the patients have taught me. Of course, as doctors, we learn so much from patients, even more than the textbooks. The first lesson is, of course, patience. Patients teach us patience. How poetic. In my first year of psychiatry training, I had a patient who was catatonic. For the uninitiated, catatonia is a situation in which the patient may hold the posture for very many hours, not eat, not talk, be in the same situation, sort of like how they show in the movies. And I was sent to take his history. After 30 minutes, I came back and I cried to my professor, he doesn't talk. How do I take the history? My professor said, go listen to him. I said, but he doesn't talk. I said, go listen to him. And that was my lesson in patience. To sit across somebody for 3 hours and just observe them. And even more was taught to me by OCD patients, obsessive compulsive disorder, a patient who repeated the same question 65 times. Yes, I was counting. And I realized that I kept answering them for each 65 times, only to realize that it was reassurance that they were seeking. I've gotten better. I don't reply 65 times anymore. And that's the patience that you need to learn with all your patients. I think patients, when we call them difficult, they're not trying to be difficult. I promise you. You will come across patients that will make you feel, you know what? They're just looking to be heard. They're looking to be understood. Behind that anger, behind that anxiety, behind that fear, there's a person who's a human being who wants to be seen. So please promise me, as future medicos, you will not treat patients like symptom checklists, but as human beings. In fact, treat patients the way you want to be treated. That's a mantra I've forever been following ever since. In the end, I realized that the lesson about the world that I've learned through years of practice, that we're all different, but we all have the same needs. So let me distill, what do we as human beings really need? I think it's poetic almost that they all start from P. And psychiatry starts from P, though the P is silent. We all need protection. We want to be protected. We want our loved ones to protect us. We all need praises. Everybody here is hungry for validation. Try more internal praise than external, but yes, we need praises. We all need our parents' validation. A big yes to that. We all may have a love-hate relationship also with the parents, but we want that validation. We want a purpose. We want to feel powerful. And eventually we all want peace, don't we? So over the years, in psychiatry I've learned, which is why I now meditate, exercise regularly, and even go to therapy for many years. And I'm proud to say that. In fact, I shout at the top of my lungs that all medical students should go to therapy at least once. Therapy is not only when you're broken, therapy is not only when you have a disorder. It can be for self-growth. In fact, psychiatry has taught me self-awareness, self-validation, self-reflection. And not only has psychiatry made me a human, it's put the humane in the human being. And I stand before you today as slightly flawed, slightly imperfect, but in my entirety as a person who is just like you. Thank you for your patient listening.